Hello everyone. In today's video, I will discuss about the rural poverty from environmental perspective. In this video, I will discuss about the poverty from the societal approach and from the environmental approach. And I will also discuss about the reasons of the poverty. There is mainly the rural poverty and how this rural poverty is both a societal as well as an environmental problem. So in this video we will discuss about these things. So let's begin. Poverty is the universal problem. Every countries of the world, particularly the developing countries and the underdeveloped and poor third world countries, are facing the poverty. And rural poverty is another important problem, and which is a very significant because it is associated with a mode of production that is the agriculture. So here in this video we will discuss about the rural poverty, that is how rural poverty has become a major issue in the today's time. So what is the economy of the rural areas of villages? As we know, the agriculture. Agriculture is the main the source of livelihood of the rural peoples. So the rural poverty is occurring. That means there is some problem associated with the agriculture or agricultural production, because the agricultural productions may not be able to fulfill the needs of the peoples, or may not be able to make them comfortable in their life. So peoples are facing the problem of poverty. People's income is not able to match their expenditure, and they are not able to live a proper and healthy life. So that is why they are facing the problem. So we have to look into the agriculture, and which is the basis of the Indian economy, or one of the largest the contributor of the Indian economy. Here I am using India as a reference point for discussion. So I shall focus on the Indian agriculture. There is agricultural economy of the villages of India. So as we know, India has been a predominantly rural the society, and the agriculture has been a very important part of the Indian economy. And as many scholars also argued that the agriculture is the lifeline of the village people or the Indian nationality. So if we see the present the scenario, so agriculture is facing the crisis. That is, agriculture is in a state of the crisis. Why agricultural economy is in a problem? Because the productivity, the lack of market, the price for the cultivators or for the agriculturists and the peasants. So all these are the as problems associated with the crisis of the agricultural economy. And if we see the scenario of the rural poverty, so it is mainly because of these problems of agriculture. There is the farmers or the peasants who are depends on the land or the agricultural or cultivable lands are facing the problem or difficulty in managing the income to live their life, or to live means the whole year, or to manage their expenditure in the whole year. Another reason behind the rural poverty is the commercialization of agriculture. As we know, the Green Revolution, which just strengthened and accelerated the productivity of the agriculture, but at the same time it also created the regional gap or the uneven development. So this commercialization of agriculture ultimately helped a section of the cultivators or section of the farmers and peasants affluent, and others are left as marginalized farmer. So basically the class division which emerged in the rural setting because of the commercialization of agriculture. So this class division or class structure I will discuss in any other video, and there are lots of points to be discussed that I will discuss in different videos. So here come to the point. There is societal point of view and environmental point of view. Now, how societal point of view see this environmental this how societal point of view see this the rural poverty. Here societal means the perspective or approach consider this rural poverty as the source of the class division. So basically they see the poor as a class in the agrarian setting. So there may be agricultural laborer or the poor peasants. So they try to understand how the agricultural laborers and peasants are becoming the landless, are becoming poor and are facing the difficulty in their life. Basically, the societal approach looks into this rural poverty as a part of the social stratification, and particularly agrarian social stratification. That is how the poor, because of the rural poverty, means becoming or emerging as a working class, as a peasant class in the social stratification of agrarian setting. So they try to understand it from the historical the transition that started in the feudal period during British rule, and it continued even after independence, and how it is going on. So all these things can be seen from the societal approach. Now we shall see the environmental approach in understanding the rural poverty. First of all, here I shall mention about the former Prime Minister Mrs. Indira Gandhi's remark on the Stockholm Conference regarding the poverty in India. She mentioned that the poverty is the greatest form of pollution. So from this remark we can relate this rural poverty. So the rural poverty, we can say, is the source of the pollution, or it's the greatest form of pollution. How? Because this poverty is creating a disturbance in the ecology, because it is forcing peoples to exploit the natural resources like land, the forests and others. So ultimately the ecological balance is becoming mismanaged due to the people's or poor people's helplessness. Another important reason why the rural poverty is the environmental problem or ecological problem is the widespread migration. There is widespread migration of the rural workers or rural people to the urban centers or urban areas, particularly in the mega cities. So this widespread the migration from rural areas to the urban areas is leading the ecological problem of urban areas, and it is creating a pressure over urban housing and different other infrastructures. Again, another important problem which is creating because of this widespread migration is the slum. Slum is the very significant or very serious the issue of the today's time, and this is all because of the poor agricultural development and the rural poverty. So here rural poverty is forcing peoples to migrate. If they are if they get the enough income and the livelihood from the rural areas, so they will never move from their homeland. Another important factor here is the spread of industrialization and the capitalist economies demand of the labor. Capitalist economy or the capitalists or industrialists are means the highly needs the laborers, and they chooses the labor intensive the nations. So India is a larger the opportunity for them. So all the multinational companies, even the Indian companies who chooses these rural peoples as their workforce, and ultimately they convinces them with wages, daily wages, and ultimately the peoples also migrates to the rural urban areas or industrial centers to get employed and get the job or the wages, so ultimately leaving their land and leaving the agriculture behind. So this is also another reason behind the rural poverty. The last point here I will discuss about the reason, a very significant reason behind the rural poverty is the construction of the industries or factories, or the different the extension of the cities, even airports, the railway tracks, and even the hydropower dams, and many more things are coming up. And mainly these centers, this infrastructural development is acquiring or occupying the cultivable land of the farmers and the peasants, and and unconscious peasants and the farmers are happily give away their lands to these industrialists in a return of a amount, or in return of a promise that they will get a job and employment. But they don't see, they don't have the vision to anticipate the means the consequences, severe consequences in the future. So ultimately it is creating the rural poverty. Peoples are becoming dependent on the industrial, the farms, the factories, and leaving their land as the property of the industrialists and capitalists. So this is the end of the present video. I will continue the discussion in other videos, and lots of topics are there regarding the urban poverty, rural poverty, the ecology and environment. So be connected with the Sociology for Life. Like, subscribe and share. Thank you.